All the talk is about Chris Paul starting on the Warriors right now, but CP's ego can't handle the bench. But that's not even their biggest problem. Oh, it's Chris's age or his injuries or his playoff failure. No, people are tiptoeing around the biggest issue. Draymond Green is still on this team. Every time he's asked about CP3, no question. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much he previously despised Paul, Green interrupted. 11. I hated him. 11. What? That is more than any other player in the NBA. This is a man who punched a teammate he didn't hate half as much as Chris Paul. Draymond yelled at Kevin Durant, like, we don't even need you on our team. But why does Draymond hate Chris Paul this much? It's not what he did to Draymond, but what he did to Steph. Dre looks at Steph like a brother. And when someone disrespects your brother like this, it creates deep-seated hate. People don't know, but Chris was Steph Curry's idol growing up. They're both from North Carolina. By the time Steph was a freshman in high school, CP was a legend. He won Mr. North Carolina and was a McDonald's All-American. Steph wanted to be Chris Paul. So after he got drafted in 2009, he attended Paul's elite point guard camp, an NBA rookie with middle school and high school kids. That is how bad Steph wanted to train with Chris Paul. And Paul was so impressed, he invited Steph on his family vacation to Disney World. Chris Paul, his wife and kids, and young Steph Curry. He was a great mentor. How disciplined he was, his work ethic, and I got to see that firsthand after Summer League through the beginning of the season. Chris knew Steph would be special, but in just a few years, they hated each other. But first, this year, AM Hoops is riding with Underdog Fantasy, and I am going to post the Underdog AM Hoops official fantasy leagues. But until basketball season, I am having some luck with football season. Right now, I am 4-2 in my picks, which won't last forever, but I am putting my picks on the community tab of this channel, so check it out. We're playing high or lower until those fantasy leagues start with the basketball season, and you can win up to 20 times your money in a single night. You just pick between 2 and 5 players to build a pick'em entry. Sign up for the first time with promo code AMHoops. They will double your first deposit up to $100, but we have a special deal just for AM Hoops. Underdog is giving us a free pick if you sign up with promo code AM Hoops. You won't get that anywhere else. You might be able to double your deposit, but you're not going to get a free square. So visit UnderdogFantasy.com or find them in the App Store. Do not forget to register with AM Hoops as the promo code. Double your deposit up to $100 and get that free square. In the 2014 playoffs, Steph had a chance to put the Dubs up 2-1 over the Clippers, but CP defended his three-pointer. And if you look close, he snuck a forearm into Steph, but the refs missed it. Steph called that a cheap shot. His first taste of how sneaky Chris Paul can be. But it was the last time that Chris would have the upper hand because Steph was about to demolish his old mentor. In 2015, Curry took over the league, but saved his best plays for CP3. Breaking his ankles on a crossover, getting around him like a traffic cone. Draymond said it was a personal vendetta for Steph against Chris to get better than him. I want to be better than you specifically. But not only did Steph win MVP that year, he won a chip. 2 things Chris Paul has never done, despite being named the point god. So now it was personal. But when Chris is mad, he gets nasty. Paul moved to Houston in 2018 and the Rockets beat Golden State 2-1 in the regular season. But in the playoffs, he was still bitter. There was the hilarious fake laugh with Steve Kerr. Kerr thinks they're having a moment, but CP's like, hey, no, F out of here, old man. In a blowout game 3, Steph decided to shimmy after a bucket. Probably not the classiest move. So Chris shimmies right back in his face. Now Steph, you can see, just laughs it off because, you know, Steph isn't jealous of Chris Paul. But before CP could get his revenge, he pulled a hamstring with a 3-2 series lead. The Rockets blew double-digit leads and shot 7 for 44 from 3 in Game 7. A Warriors insider said, Chris Paul used to dominate that matchup. He was supposed to be next in line to win a championship. Then suddenly, it was Steph. And suddenly, there is disdain for Steph. Chris Paul was jealous about how their careers turned out. But 2 months later, he had a chance to embarrass Steph Curry in front of his whole family.
Celebrity Family Feud. It's Steph Curry and family. It's Chris Paul and family.
Oh, Chris was ready to lay the beat down. He crushed Steph on the opening buzzer. The Pauls took the lead. Then the Currys went ahead in the final round. But if Aisha messed up her answer, Chris himself could steal the win.
Give me something a funeral director would hate to discover about the body they're about to bury.
The body doesn't have a head.
All right, here's your chance. Tell me something a funeral director would hate to discover about the body they're about to bury.
That the body is too big for the casket.
Couldn't even beat him in Family Feud. And as the families are all hugging, Chris steps back to not get close to Steph. But okay, no, maybe I'm reading too much into this, right? Then why did Paul do the most disrespectful thing we have ever seen to Steph Curry? Had the Dubs' entire roster chanting F Chris Paul. Well, in the 2019 playoffs, Kevin Durant is hurt, up 3-2 against the Rockets. So Steph books the court to warm up before Game 6, which Paul knows is key to Steph's game. ESPN says, so Paul decided to go to the Toyota Center to get shots up, nixing Curry's reservations. The Warriors point guard even offered to stick to half of the court, but Paul wasn't having it. Curry was kicked off the Toyota Center court, and it worked. Steph awful in the first half of Game 6, but woke up in the second half, scoring 33, 16 points in the final 5 minutes. And after the win, the team chanted F Chris Paul. Steph had a personal message. And as if that wasn't bad enough, CP was asked about the best point guards a year later. Wait till you hear who he picked for best shooter.
You know, I probably want D Rose's explosiveness, Kyrie's finishes and all that. Braun is always good at passing and all that different type of stuff. Shooting also might be somebody like Gilbert Arenas.
Gilbert Arenas? Could you make it more obvious you have no respect for Steph? Like, you have to really go out of your way to get Gilbert Arenas. And while all of this is happening, Draymond Green is taking notes. But the one thing that could fix all of this is winning. Everywhere Chris Paul goes, he brings more W's. His first trade was to the Clippers in 2012. They went from the 13th seed to the 5th. The Rockets improved from 3rd to 1st. OKC, supposed to tank, actually got better. The Suns completely transformed, but the Warriors are in need of major change. Is Chris Paul the answer? Well, last year the Warriors averaged the shortest amount of time with the ball in a player's hands, just 2.7 seconds. They whip the ball around the court, keeping the defense guessing. But Chris Paul is the opposite. He holds the ball an average of 5.6 seconds. 7th longest in the NBA. You want to put that in the starting lineup? It disrupts Draymond's role as a playmaker, Steph Curry too. If there's not immediate improvement, Chris and Draymond are going to get into it, probably out in public. It'll be like the 100th time Draymond's gotten in trouble like that. What do you think the backlash is gonna be? And the Dubs know Draymond's got an attitude problem. They chose him over Jordan Poole. And on a Pat Beverly podcast, Draymond straight up said, "At this point, I'm not gonna change, Chris is not gonna change." This thing is a ticking time bomb waiting to explode. A lot of people are talking about CP's fit on the Warriors. That is not their biggest problem. But obviously their dream teammate would be Giannis Antetokounmpo. A different team though is rumored to get the Greek Freak. Bill Simmons guaranteed the Knicks would get either Giannis, Embiid, or Donovan Mitchell, so I took a deep dive on which superstar they'll land.